Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 495 based on novel. So let's start. Susan quickly said, his name is Wang Lin. Give me his exam paper. There was a hint of joy in Su Dao's eyes. Susan smiled when he heard this. He then proceeded to take out the exam paper. He had come here just so he could let Su Dao see this extraordinary exam paper. However, after he came here, Su Dao wouldn't look at it until today. Holding Wang Lin's paper, Su Dao took a closer look and nodded. This young man will be the last student this old man will take. With a smile, Su Dao looked back at the boat. There was a willow leaf floating between him and the boat under the moonlight. It was impossible to know if Su Dao was looking at the willow or the boat. Time would fly by, and when you wanted to pursue it, there would be no trace of it. Several days later, Wang Lin left the boat with big fortune. He stood on the shore and looked at the boat he had lived on for more than a month and at the river where he waited for more than a month. He silently pondered for a very long time. It wasn't until half an hour later that Wang Lin shook his head and let out a sigh. He was about to turn and leave when a cry came from the sky. Wang Lin's body trembled and he looked up at the sky. He saw the familiar white bird circle in the sky. The bird gradually descended and landed on the bridge in the distance. It looked at Wang Lin before flying back into the clouds. Its white figure was like the willow flower. Wang Lin murmured, "Is it you?" Wang Lin didn't participate in the exam in the city of Su. The day he left the boat, he was invited to the house of the great scholar Su Dao. The person that invited him was the old man inspector. Su Dao's house wasn't large, but it was very elegant. It was quiet and gave one peace of mind. In the courtyard, Wang Lin saw the old man that had asked him the question on the bridge. Big Fortune had to wait outside in the courtyard while Wang Lin and Su Dao drank osmanthus wine as they began to chat in the courtyard. Only when the moon was high in the air did Wang Lin bow at Su Dao. This old man has had many disciples in my life, but I only have 3 true students. From now on, you will be my last student. This old man doesn't want you to take the imperial exam, and your personality is not suited for that. This old man wants you to become the country of Zhao's grand scholar once I die. Not only the country of Zhao, there are many countries on planet Suzaku. This old man wants you to become the grand scholar of the entire planet. This is a life without riches and glory or monstrous power, but you will be able to comprehend the world and have your own thoughts. In this world, since there are mortals like us, there are naturally immortals. Many immortals have come to me asking me to walk the path of Tao, but they were all rejected by me. This old man smiles and looks at the sky. I have my own ideals. I pursue no Tao, but I comprehend the truth of the world. Although my body is fragile, my mind can live forever and break open the cage. Although these immortals can kill us mortals with just a finger, they still have to lower their noble heads before the world's grand scholar. Immortals cultivate to defy the heavens, but as scholars comprehend the heavens. That is also defying the heavens. If the heavens have a spirit, then in its eyes, the immortals are just mortals like us. They are mortals and we are mortals. The only difference is that they have the power to make the mountains crumble and we have an understanding of the heavens. In the end, it all intersects. This teacher has taken in many students that are cultivators who came to teacher in hopes of reaching the soul formation stage. Some pursued even deeper into the meaning of Tao. This kind of life is ordinary but not ordinary. Wang Lin, are you willing to choose this path? At this moment, although Su Dao was merely an ordinary old man under the moonlight, Wang Lin could feel a mighty aura from him. This aura came from comprehending the truth of the world and having one's own thoughts. It was this that allowed Su Dao to stand at the top. That wall was like a flame that burned inside Su Dao, and it was heaven shaking. Scholar, Grand Scholar, and finally Lord Scholar. Su Dao had his hands behind his back as he looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin silently pondered, and after a long time, he knelt and bowed at Su Dao. At this moment, Wang Lin had just turned 19 and Su Dao was now 83. Suda smiled as he grabbed Wang Lin's hand and supported Wang Lin up from the ground. Their words echoed inside the courtyard. This old man entered the world as a boy and returned home middle-aged. I traveled all over Zhao and also went to many other countries. I saw mountains, I saw rivers, I saw life. At age 50, my wife died and this old man grieved before her grave. It was there that I gained enlightenment about the world. Every time I thought about life, I would remember the time that I knew her. After that, my thoughts turned to karma. What is this karma? Why does a karma cycle exist in this world? One night passed, and Wang Lin's life changed on this night. He no longer pursued the imperial exam but pondered his own life's desires. Aside from being filial to his parents, he wanted to understand the world and pursue that voice in his mind. What is karma? What is life and death? What is true and false? He and Big Fortune lived inside Su Dao's mansion and listened to Su Dao's teachings every day. The aura of a great scholar became stronger and stronger inside his body. Several dozen people received the title of Chosen Su and went to the imperial capital after the exam. Some rose and some fell, but none of this could move Wang Lin anymore. He hadn't entered the exam, but Wang Lin's reputation had soared in the country of Zhao, surpassing those that had soared into the imperial capital. Although he hadn't left the Su mansion, as time passed, people came to visit Su Dao, and Wang Lin was the one that came out to greet them. Wang Lin had seen a lot of people, whether it was mortal students, rich royalty, and even cultivators. He became even more calm, he started loving wine even more, and he became even more leisurely. In the blink of an eye, years passed. As the willow leaves fell, Wang Lin was about to become middle-aged. He stood in the courtyard where Su Dao had taken him as a student 10 years ago, watching the willow leaves cover the ground. Su Dao's body had become even older. Time had taken a lot from his body and left a lot on his body. He could no longer drink and talk all night with Wang Lin like 10 years ago. He sat in a chair with 2 servants helping him move. He watched the willow leaves fly with Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was calm. After sending the 2 servants away, he pushed Su Dao's chair. "Lina, look at these willow leaves. They are here year after year. Even if teacher is gone, they will still come every season as if they have an agreement with heaven." Su Dao's voice was hoarse, but his spirit was very good. He lifted his right hand and one of the willow leaves fell in his palm. Wang Lin softly said, "This willow leaf is life." Su Dao looked at the willow leaf and slowly said, "Life isn't it just a ball of karma? It floats before you, but if you try to seize it, you can't catch it. Only when it's tired will it fall in your hand." As he spoke, a soft breeze came, causing the willow leaf in his palm to fly away. Karma, karma. Wang Lin, if you can find your own way among the countless willow leaves, then you will know what karma is. Su Dao smiled and pointed at the sky. "That ball of willow leaves is teacher." Wang Lin looked up and looked at where Su Dao was pointing. However, there were many willow leaves in the sky, so he didn't know which one Su Dao was pointing toward. "You can't see it because that willow leaf is my entire life." Su Dao closed his eyes and 2 streams of tears rolled down. "It is 2 willow leaves, they were tangled together due to the wind. That's my life with her." In Su Dao's eyes, all the willow leaves had disappeared, all of them beside the 2 that were sticking together. They flew further and further away. "That year, when the willow leaves flew through the sky, I saw you on the bridge. I saw the confusion in your eyes. I thought you were like a rootless willow leaf. You were very helpless and confused. It was as if there was a problem that you couldn't understand. I saw you and saw the willow leaf that flew by. That was your life, it swirled before you, but you weren't able to see it, so it came before me. I saw the willow leaf, but you must have thought I was looking at you. I asked the willow leaf the question, but you must have thought I was asking you. At that time, I was thinking I should help you." Su Dao turned his head. His old face revealed a kind expression as he looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's body trembled. "You are the last karma in my life. I've always felt like I've seen you somewhere else before." Su Dao turned around and looked at the sky. As years pass, people will see the willow leaves cover the city. They don't understand that the willow leaves come to find the person they are connected to. Each willow leaf represents the entire life of a person. However, in the end, they land in the water, they land in the dust, and dissipate before our eyes. It's not that they can't find us, but we aren't able to find the one that belongs to us. Wang Lin silently raised his head and looked at the flowing willow leaves in the sky, a scene that was just like 10 years ago. He eventually saw a group of willow leaves. There were two that seemed to be glued together. The willow leaves fluttered endlessly, and no matter how hard the wind blew, it wasn't able to separate them. Zither music seemed to come from somewhere, floating into his ears. It was as if a woman was waiting, and the only thing to accompanying her was the zither music. In a flash, another 10 years passed. Suda had died of old age 3 years ago. He left during the winter. He struggled to survive the winter so he could live for a few more months and see the willow leaves next year. However, although his mind could comprehend the world, his body wasn't able to alter life and death. During the winter, the snowflakes fell, leaving the world and the river frozen with a thick layer of ice. He looked at the snow falling as if it would last for an eternity. Wang Lin pushed his wooden chair and walked through the city of Su. Wang Lin, who was almost 40, gave off a steadfast aura. He wore a white shirt as he silently pushed Su Dao. This winter was particularly cold. The falling snow was blown by the cold wind and fell on their bodies. Early in the morning, the bell in the temple leisurely echoed in the distance. The crisp sound could cleanse one's heart. Lin, teacher is about to leave. Teacher never have any children. Your 3 senior brothers inherited a lot of truths from me, but only your thoughts are similar to mine. I know you have already become aware of karma. Although still hazy, you will eventually understand. What you pursue is not just karma. Teacher will gift this mansion to you. Su Juo's weak voice mixed with the wind and entered Wang Lin's ears. Wang Lin remained silent and sorrow appeared in his eyes. Su Dao had accompanied him for 17 years. During these 17 years, Wang Lin had gone from a 19-year-old young man to a middle-aged man. Following Su Dao, Wang Lin learned a lot and understood a lot. The snow was heavy and covered their vision. As the bell echoed, the snow covered the entire city of Su. The crunching sound of the wooden chair being pushed was weak. Only the 2 lines of tracks left by the chair were visible. It was like life, and when you look back you could see how long it was. However, it only led to the present and you couldn't see where it ended. Snow fell and covered the tracks in the ground. Not even the starting point could be seen. Send me to the Su mountain outside the city. Su Dao's old voice was weak, but his eyes were bright. He looked at the world as if he was seeing his own end. Wang Lin silently nodded as he pushed the wooden chair and walked forward toward Su Dao's final goal. The snowfall became even heavier. The wind and snow fell on his face. He allowed the snow to melt, and the coldness entered his heart. Wang Lin pushed the wooden chair through the ancient streets and out of the city of Su. He saw the small mountain outside the city. The mountain wasn't large, but it had spirit. One couldn't see this spirit, but if one closed their eyes, they would feel every tree and grass on the mountain. One could feel the mountain breathing, and that was enough. Wang Lin pushed the chair up the path leading to the mountain. Su Dao slowly closed his eyes. He faintly felt like he couldn't hold on anymore. However, his eyes were still as bright as they were 17 years ago. The eye is the window to the heart. Su Dao's body may rot, but his thoughts, the trajectory of his life, had already formed, so it would never disappear. Carry me to that place. Su Dao's voice was even weaker. Wang Lin carried Su Dao on his back and walked off the mountain road. The snow continued to fall as he walked into the mountain step by step. At the end, there was a solitary grave. This grave existed in the snow as if it was waiting for something. It seemed to have waited for several decades for this day. Su Dao sat down before the grave and stared at it. There were no tears, but his gaze became gentle. I'm coming. You said you wanted to always look at me, so I buried you here so you could always see me below the mountain, Su Dao murmured as he touched the grave. His expression was gentle and he seemed to forget the coldness of the grave. Or it could be said that the coldness from the grave had turned to warmth in his heart. He slowly closed his eyes and his face had a gentle smile as he lost his breath. Suda died. Wang Lin stood there for a long time. He turned around and looked down the mountain. From this position, he could see the city of Su and the Su mansion. A powerful sense of melancholy filled Wang Lin's heart. He was confused. He was still thinking about what kind of existence this world was. Was it his previous life, his reincarnation, or just a dream? It was just that there was no way to explain everything. Truth and false seemed to traverse in a permanent circle, making it impossible to tell where the start and end were. Half a month later, another grave appeared next to the lone grave on the mountain. It was no longer lonely. 3 years after Su Dao died, Wang Lin was 39. His parents had been brought here from the mountain village many years ago, but they couldn't adjust to the life here. After several months, they returned to their hometown and lived an ordinary life. In the winter when Wang Lin was 39, he was looking at the snow when he got a summon from the Emperor of Zhao. This was the 5th summon in the 3 years after Su Dao died. The contents of the 5 summons were roughly the same, but each was more luxurious than the last. They said the emperor wanted Wang Lin to come to the capital to become the imperial teacher. During these 20 years, Wang Lin's name had risen among the scholars in Zhao. Although he had never left the city of Su in these 20 years, people would come to visit and listen to his teachings during the annual imperial exam. This was related to Su Dao, but it was also related to Wang Lin himself. During these 20 years, some dignitaries, some scholars, and some nobles had been defeated by Wang Lin's words. Everyone knew that Wang Lin had obtained Su Dao's inheritance to become a grand scholar. This became even more deeply rooted in their hearts when Su Dao died. However, nothing was absolute. There were a lot of people who didn't recognize Wang Lin's existence. They didn't believe Wang Lin was worthy of the title of grand scholar, and the Emperor of Zhao led that group. These opinions were scattered when Su Dao was alive. However, in the 3 years after Su Dao died, their voices became louder and louder. During Wang Lin's 3 years of silence, they had become voices of doubt. Wang Lin didn't pay attention to these kinds of things. He continued his quiet life with big fortune. Wang Lin's silence allowed the people that questioned him to become even more unbridled. They admitted Wang Lin was Su Dao's student, but they didn't think Wang Lin was worthy of the title of Grand Scholar. Driving by people with their own motives, this matter slowly changed until such voices could be heard all across Zhao. Wang Lin still ignored all of this. He watched the sunrises and sunsets. He looked at the spring pass and autumn arrive. He comprehended the world and tried to understand karma. He also searched for signs of life and death and true and false. Although he was in a state of confusion himself, he continued to experience life. He didn't want to pay attention to these pointless things, and he didn't feel the need to prove anything. All of this meant nothing to him. It was like children arguing. However, the more he remained silent, the louder those voices became. What was worse was that out of Su Dao's 3 other students, other than Su San, who was elderly and terminally ill, the other 2 had also stood out to question Wang Lin. As a result, the scholars of Zhao were a mess and even disrupted the ordinary people. The voices of doubt were like a storm that swept across Zhao. Some people had found Wang Lin's exam paper from 20 years ago and began to heavily criticize it. They used the fact that Wang Lin had only passed the first exam to throw out arrogant accusations. Amidst these messy voices, the summon from the imperial capital of Zhao came the 6th time, 7th time, 8th time, 9th time, following Wang Lin like snow. What was even more excessive was that this affected Wang Lin's parents. His parents were already old and should have been enjoying the end of their lives. However, for some reason, the people in the village had learned of this and it spread across the village. The rumor of the villagers ignited Wang Lin's parents' anger. They were already old, and this anger caused Wang Lin's father to fall ill. During the winter of this year, Wang Lin stood in the yard, holding a letter. This letter was from his mother. She had found someone to write it and then entrusted his 4th uncle to send it. The letter told Wang Lin that his father was fine. After reading it again and again, a hint of anger appeared in Wang Lin's calm eyes. Wang Lin folded the letter and put it in his clothes. He looked up at the falling snow and slowly said, "A bit too much." He had no intention of proving anything. No matter how loud the voices in Zhao were, he didn't care. The title Grand Scholar held no value, he didn't care. He was like an old man who just wanted to slowly comprehend the world. However, everything had a limit, and Wang Lin's bottom line was his parents. The anger of his parents, the pain of his parents, the grief of his parents, and the wrath of his parents were his anger, his pain, his sadness, his wrath. Big fortune, make the necessary arrangements. I'll lecture for 10 years. For the next 10 years, I welcome anyone in the world to come to the city of Su to learn from me. If they can show they are above me, they can take this mansion from me. Wang Lin waved his sleeves and left. Behind him, Big Fortune, who had entered his elderly years, was still the same as 20 years ago. He was very excited as he was equally as angry during these last 3 years. Those people that used to respect him not only alienated him but were also cold to him. Now that he heard Wang Lin's words, there was a hint of expectation in his proud expression. He quickly went to arrange this matter. HMPH, my young lord is still the most haughty. 10 years of lectures. I want to see the expressions of all those people when they fail. 10 years of lecture to welcome the scholars of the world. This news spread out from the city of Su and spread through various channels. It quickly made its way throughout the country of Zhao. When the people that questioned Wang Lin heard this, they were all dumbfounded. Suda had once lectured, but it was only for 1 year. However, this Wang Lin dared to say, 10 years. This kind of thing couldn't be considered haughty but extremely arrogant. The so-called lectures were like challenges in the martial arts world, to welcome anyone to battle in these 10 years. This matter quickly spread. After a brief moment of calm, there was a violent reaction. Countless scholars and people that questioned Wang Lin with the secret support of the Zhao Emperor all headed for the city of Su along with anyone who thought they were qualified. There were many people in an inn on the official road 500 kilometers away. There were many scholars there, and people were all talking about Wang Lin's lecture. Have you heard that Su Dao student Wang Lin arrogantly announced a 10-year lecture? 10 years. The entire world is shocked, all the skeptics are heading there. Almost everyone already knows this. I say this Wang Lin does have talent, but he is not qualified to be the Grand Scholar of Zhao. I don't think so. Since he dares to say 10 years, that means he has confidence to back it up. I heard several dozen scholars visited him a few days ago and all returned in failure. A soft snort came from a table near the window in the inn. There were 4 people sitting there, 3 young ones and 1 old man. The old man drank tea as he listened. He looked calm, but there was disdain hidden in his eyes. Someone who merely passed the first exam dares to lecture? So shouldn't have accepted him back then. The title of Grand Scholar should belong to me, Su Yi. Similar things happened all over the country of Zhao. The closer they were to the city of Su, the more common it became. Inside the city of Su, the door to the Su mansion was opened all day long. It wouldn't close for 10 years. Wang Lin calmly sat inside the courtyard and drank Osmundus wine as he coldly looked at the 100 scholars before him. It had been 4 months since he said he would lecture for 10 years. More than 1,000 people had come to the mansion. Today, another 100 people came, filling the courtyard. Some people were standing outside the door, and even further out were countless carriages with old men sitting inside. As time passed, even more scholars from all over Zhao rushed over to the city of Su. I'm Dong Yun. I was in the same generation of examinee as Sir. I am now an official at the palace and have a question I'd like Sir's help on. A middle-aged man stood up from the ground. He gave off a proud aura as he stood straight. I don't understand what the meaning of the changes of the 4 seasons are. I hope Sir can tell me. The middle-aged man looked at Wang Lin and slightly clasped his hands. You were born in spring, grew up in summer, became old in autumn, and died in winter. You ask me about spring, summer, autumn, and winter, but in my eyes you are growing old and dying of illness." Wang Lin drank a mouthful of wine. The middle-aged man was startled by Wang Lin's response and asked in a daze, "Then why would one grow old and die of illness?" Wang Lin leisurely said, "Because you're still alive." The middle-aged man was startled on the spot for a long time, but there was still confusion in his eyes. He didn't understand. "The moment you die, you will think back about your life from birth to death. This process can't escape the 4 seasons. Send off the guest." Wang Lin waved his sleeve and a servant arrived. The servant led the stunned middle-aged scholar that seemed to have understood something out. "I want to ask sir something. I'm a scholar of great talent. When I meet people in my hometown, no one can beat me. But why have others succeed while I have nothing after 30 years? A fallen old man filled with confusion clasped his hands at Wang Lin. "The country of Zhao has mountains that are high and low. The high mountains might not reach the peak, and the low mountains might contain a spirit vein. You only compare the height of the mountains, why not see them as mountains instead? Send off the guest." The surrounding people went into an uproar. The countless scholars were shocked and began to ponder. A young man couldn't squeeze into the courtyard, so he shouted, "I ask sir, why is there rain in this world, and what is rain?" "Good question." Wang Lin stood up and walked up the ladder with a jug of wine in his hand until he reached the highest point. Looking at the people below, there was something unusual about him. There were many people here right now, and when he looked into the distance, he saw even more people rushing over. The entire city seemed to be moving. Almost all the scholars who had come to the city beside those that had already questioned him were here today. Wang Lin's gaze fell on a restaurant in the distance. He could see a middle-aged man sitting in the restaurant. This person wore an expensive robe and gave off a sense of might without being angry. He had many bodyguards behind him, and he coldly looked toward the Su mansion. His gaze fell on Wang Lin, who was standing on the high steps. Looking at Wang Lin, the middle-aged man's eyes became gloomy. Looking at Wang Lin, he felt like he was staring at Su Dao from the past. Beside him sat 2 youths wearing Daoist robes. They had their eyes closed and wore calm expressions. Su Dao died, he will also die. The country of Zhao doesn't need a grand scholar. However, he can't die to us mortals. I trouble you 2 immortals to help us. I'll do my best to meet your requirements." One of the young men had an arrogant expression as he slowly said, "Mere mortal, you want him die, then he will die." Wang Lin drank a mouthful of wine and revealed an easygoing expression. He looked at the young man who had asked the question. "I heard something in my dream. I'll gift it to you. The rain is born in the sky and dies on the earth. The process in the middle is life." After he spoke, the uproar became shocking. As it spread, even the people outside heard it. Most of the old men in the carriages outside were moved. A few silently got up and clasped their hands at Wang Lin before summoning their servants to leave. Just this sentence alone let them know that the title of Grand Scholar was not false. "I heard Sir followed Su Dao for more than 10 years and is very knowledgeable. I ask, why are there immortals in this world and why are we mortals but ants to them?" An old voice came from the courtyard. The surrounding people moved aside as an old man slowly walked forward. This old man obviously had a high reputation. Wang Lin didn't know him, but many people here did. They all respectfully bowed at him. Immortals have power, and the power fuses with their hearts, making their hearts increase infinitely so they can see mortals as ants. However, if you have an ideal and expand that ideal to comprehend the world and understand the truth, you can see immortals as immortals without the awe. So what if you look at immortals as if they are ants? Wang Lin drank a mouthful of wine and began to laugh. The old man's body trembled. After murmuring for a moment, he bowed at Wang Lin. He then left with the support of his servant. As the scholars asked questions, Wang Lin continued to drink osmanthus wine and laugh as he answered. More and more scholars clasped their hands at him and left. Some looked back at Wang Lin with respect that had never appeared before. However, although a lot of people were leaving, even more people were coming in. "Sir, about the old saying, the ancient words have clouds. Jen had heard it at the start of a song. Before the scholar could finish, Wang Lin interrupted him. I have forgotten the old texts and have comprehend the truth of the world so I can have my own thoughts. I have forgotten such things, don't ask again. Sir, Scholar Su had been seeking the meaning of karma his whole life, and it is something scholars have searched for thousands of years, but no one knows. I ask if Sir understands it and if Sir can explain it so I can understand as well. Karma is karma, there is no need to comprehend it, it can only be experienced. There is nothing to explain. If you understand it, then you understand it. If you don't understand it, you don't understand it. I could stand here explaining it for 10 years and you still would not understand. Wang Lin looked up when he finished drinking his wine and threw the jug to the side. Big Fortune, bring more wine. Instead of heartache, Big Fortune felt proud. He quickly took out a jug and handed it to Wang Lin. I want to ask Scholar Wang this. Before, you said that if you expand your thoughts infinitely to include the world itself, there is no need to fear immortals and you can view immortals as ants. Then can you do it? The speaker was a gloomy old man. He stared at Wang Lin from within the crowd as his hoarse voice echoed. Wang Lin knew this person. He was the Su Dao's first student, Su Yi, who was already famous in the imperial court. Why can't I? Wang Lin drank and laughed. As soon as he said this, one of the two youths sitting next to the middle-aged man in the restaurant, the one that spoke earlier, opened his eyes. His body flickered and he turned into a ray of light and charged toward Wang Lin. Ignorant and disrespecting immortals means death. A gloomy voice filled with majesty echoed. The expressions of all the scholars below changed and they all kneeled in terror. Immortal. It's actually an immortal. Wang Lin disrespected immortals and now an immortal came here to punish him. He deserves it. The ray of light closed in and the cold sword light was chilling. The young man in the robe held a sword with contempt and disdain in his eyes. He looked around and then instantly closed in on Wang Lin. The moment the young man in the Daoist robe closed in, Wang Lin let out a roar without any sense of fear. You dare! After he spoke, a powerful aura erupted from his body and an invisible pressure covered the world. The heavens rumbled and countless bolts of thunder and lightning appeared. Before, the world was calm, but now it suddenly changed. This sudden change caused the expressions of all the kneeling scholars to change. This also caused the expression of the middle-aged man in the restaurant far away to instantly turn pale. Impossible. The other young man in the Daoist robe suddenly opened his eyes. There was disbelief and terror in his eyes. This video will end here.